Hey, are you someone out there who has started their journey of becoming fully sober and quitting alcohol? Especially since it's now 2024, that might be you. And if so, I made this video for you. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 things to be aware of when you're newly sober. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Jamie Dottie Garza. Welcome back to the channel where we ignite your sobriety. This channel is all dedicated to getting you sober and living that sober life. And I know it's a new year. Happy New Year to everyone out there watching. I hope it's going to a phenomenal start. A lot of you in the comments, past comments, has been saying that, you guys are starting anew and embarking on your journey of sobriety, and I love to see it. And today in this video, I want to create some motivation in a video of the 5 things to be aware of when you're going newly sober. Because everyone, no matter how far they are in their sobriety, they had to start from somewhere. And today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about it because this is your year. The first thing that you should be aware of when you're newly sober is romanticizing past drinking. Let's be real here. Most of the times I can recall when I was drinking, it was a lot of reminiscing. Oh, about the good times this, the good times that. And what happens when you want to continue to romanticize those good old moments when you had some alcohol in your hand and you're chugging away, shot after shot, drink after drink, surrounding yourself with the people you love, what can happen is your body and yourself can feel like you're missing out. Like, what the heck am I doing? Why am I missing the good life? You know that Kanye West song, Welcome to the Good Life with T-Pain? We trained our brains to think that if we don't have alcohol, then we can't make more good times ahead of us, which is full cap. It's more cap than a Lids factory, okay? It's not real. It's not true. How do I know? Because I've been sober. I'm still sober. And I'm making the best moments of my life this past year and now compared to any other the past 10 years when I was in bondage. One thing about our brains, it's always great at playing tricks on us. My advice for anyone out there who may be dealing with these mind tricks is to keep a journal handy. If you don't want to write, I like writing because, again, in my beliefs, it keeps you accountable. I don't like being distracted often, even with these smartphones, right? Like if I have to, I use my notes when I absolutely have to, and that's another option you can do too. But I love the fact that when you have a journal and you have a good old pen and pad, it's exactly meant for just that. I can't get distracted by going on Instagram, but you want to document and journal why you personally quit alcohol and the negative effects that have happened because of alcohol. What this is going to do is going to rewire your brain psychologically, and you'll always have this accountability and your reason why. So your mind doesn't keep playing tricks on you. Another thing you have to be aware of when you're becoming newly sober is replacing alcohol with other unhealthy habits. What does this mean, you say? Well, it can be a few things. Maybe you're on the verge of replacing alcohol with some unhealthy habits or unhealthy substances, which can include overeating. Maybe it's excessive sugars. I know that was something that has been spoken about in a lot of my comments, and I relate to that because when I first got off of alcohol, I wanted to indulge in my sweet tooth very much more often. Oftentimes with me, when I overindulge, fun fact, with too much sugars, I start to get breakouts. You guys can see right here, I overindulged, okay, over the holidays with some pecan pie my abuela made. Thank you, abuela. It was worth everything because I demolished that in 2 days. But that's besides the point. Maybe you're indulging in excessive caffeine. Maybe you're replacing the alcohol with sodas. One soda, cool, but I've seen some friends of mine in the past who would literally crush a whole 12-pack of Dr. Pepper, literally have it in his car. I'm like, dude. Or maybe you want to go California sober style, where you stop drinking, but you might spark up the weed. I didn't even know this was a thing. I was doing research and found out this was a thing. And I have to admit, I went that same route as well. When I initially quit alcohol, there was a period, because I've never really got addicted to weed, but there was a time where I was smoking more weed than alcohol. And in my mind, I was like, well, I'm not poisoning my body. However, I was poisoning my lungs, depending on how you look at the subject. And I eventually got off of that as well because I realized it was not making the best person of me. My anxiety was going up. Matter of fact, I might make more content on that journey as well. What I'm trying to say is you don't want to substitute alcohol with such things. My advice would be to indulge in some healthier activities. Maybe that healthier activity is going out to work out. Maybe walking, running in your neighborhood. Maybe it's like me, I was knocking out pull-ups, 30 pull-ups a day, just getting that workout in. Maybe it's also reading. You know, you might find more, because this is what's going to happen when you stop drinking alcohol. You're going to have a whole bunch more time. Maybe that's pouring into doing more of your favorite hobbies, things that you may have forgotten since you have not been sober and you've picked up drinking instead. It's up to you to find some healthier outlets that are going to better you as a person. Now, here's another thing that you need to be aware of. And I see this all the time, and I have become victim of it too a few times. And that's that overconfidence that eventually leads to relapse. That overconfidence, that cockiness. It's one thing to be confident, okay? It's one thing to be confident, but don't confuse that with arrogance. I know I fell short of this where I began my sobriety in early 2016, and I spoke about this before, but within I think 3 months, I fell short because first of all, I posted about it. And that's one thing you don't want to do, in my opinion, because I already got the dopamine hit in my mind that, hey, I'm sober. I've been sober. I do this. Slowly but surely, I got humbled like a few months later when I was like, well, it's just one. Let me have one glass of champagne. No, that led to us going to the 7-Eleven, copping some Andre champagne, and eventually I had 2 bottles in my hand and I was guzzling it down like Chris Bosh at the Miami Heat celebration. That's the type of person I am. I can't just indulge in one thing, and that's why I'm completely sober, because I know what can happen. So it's all about baby steps. And it's one thing to announce your sobriety, but make sure you're confident in your skin. Make sure you're confident and you're really about that life before you even get in the mix of that. And in reality, that might mean you have to fall back from some people you love for a little bit. You might just have to express like, hey, I'm on this right now. This is my journey. If you really someone who loves me, you would roll with me. You would understand and be a part of this with me. And it's just being more mindful and staying connected to your support systems. Neglecting self-care and mental health. Oof, this hits home. When you start becoming sober and you start weaning off the alcohol, and it gets intense, y'all. It gets intense. Especially I have dealt with a lot of mental health issues. It's who I am. And it's the reason why I have to operate the way I do right now. And the old saying, it gets worse before it gets better. Well, more than likely, it does. When you quit drinking alcohol, you're going to think like, why even start this? And you're going to want to go back. But again, you're getting tricked. Your mental health and leaving that crutch can control and create vulnerabilities in your mind already. If this was your crutch, now guess what? You're going to have to stand on everything you were avoiding. So it becomes a real slippery slope. And I see a lot of people, especially in the comments when they express, or me personally, actually, I could speak for myself, that this was the hardest part of remaining sober. My advice here would be exercise, would be journaling, prayer. That should be number one. That was the big thing that saved me to a place where I've been delivered, truly delivered. That's why I'm creating this content for you guys. Getting good amounts of sleep, and honestly, seeking professional help wherever it's needed. However you guys do that, whether that be going professional help, or you might take YouTube University and you might be watching videos like this as well, and just soaking up game. Hearing others of where they went through, that was very helpful for me. But it forced me, especially for my mental health, to find other alternatives to balance everything and not needing it to come from alcohol. And the last thing to be aware of is a no-brainer. It's that isolation, not seeking support. It kind of ties into the last thing to be aware of. But we all know COVID happened, right? And everybody was forced to be isolated. However, when you go on this journey, and the more you've been dependent on alcohol, for me, suffered alcoholism for like what, 15 years, with my heaviest binges in my 20s to late 20s. When you go from that to completely sober and you're isolated by yourself, that could be a lot for some people. When you go on this isolation, you might be missing the camaraderie you may get from community groups or support groups on this topic. I know I was someone who went on Reddit and I would see people elaborate on that. You might be one who goes on YouTube and you become followers of other channels who are about sobriety, which shout out to y'all. And you might build a community amongst that. What might happen if you don't go that way, or if you completely isolate yourself, is you could feel extreme loneliness. You could feel like it's you against the world, increased stress, misunderstandings. You might get angry because you're forced to deal with all these thoughts you've been, again, putting to the side because you've been drinking them away, which would then start to trigger something in your mind, and then that's where relapse more than likely will happen. You'll go back to your vomit, you'll go back to your old ways because that's what's comfortable and that's what you've been doing this whole time. Also with isolation, you're more than likely to miss the positive things that being sober comes with. Because it's so easy to get negative because you yourself, I know myself, I had this idea of wanting to be sober, but here I am not sober, so I don't see the end all the time. So that's why I had to go to communities and see others inspiring me and motivating me to keep on that path and hear stories. And that's why I'm sharing this story with y'all, so hopefully it can help. Those are my top 5 things to be aware of when you're newly sober, embarking on your quest to sobriety. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash that like button. More importantly, drop a comment where you are right now. I really love reading the comments. I reply to every comment. You guys are awesome. One of the subscribers, he just told me he's currently 3 days in this new year. He ain't playing no games, and I'm so happy for him. And I pray each and every one of you can ignite your sobriety as well. If you want to see more content like this on the channel, hit the red button, subscribe, and ignite your sobriety.